Today on Typical Books, we'll be talking about some of the new books coming out in the next month. And that month is February. There are a few kind of lovey-dovey books, romantic little books, as usual. And there are books coming out on February 14th. So we've got a couple books with very unique covers, a lot of black, color on black, and I really love that. And we've also got two re-releases of like classic old stuff. Start out the month right away. February 4th, Carmilla, Pushkin Press Deluxe Edition. It's Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu. This is the 1872 Gothic vampire story, which predated Dracula. And it is steeped in sexual tension between two young women. Beautiful brand new edition of the original cult classic, it says. In an isolated castle deep in the Austrian forest, Laura leads a solitary life with only her ailing father for company, until one moonlit night a horse-drawn carriage crashes into view carrying an unexpected guest, the beautiful Carmilla. My podcast partner Wes will be very pleased because he is a huge fan of that original vampire story. This beautiful collector's edition is a black cover with a red relief, sort of looking like a minimalist film poster art, and I think it's really pretty with this black letter style font, very old-fashioned looking, just gorgeous. A lot of the books in this month have either black with a color on top or yellow text for whatever reason. But yeah, this is really gorgeous. Also on February 4th, we have Exploring Dark Fiction #7, a primer to Gemophiles, edited by Eric J. Guinard. I don't know if most people say primer or primer. I don't know if one is American or UK and which is Canadian. Let me know if you pronounce it one way or the other. It has this stripy kind of look to it, similar to other books in the series. So this series, this is #7, all look pretty similar. This has skulls and roses adorning the cover, which looks really cool. Dark Moon Books author and editor Eric J. Guinard brings you this introduction to Gemophiles' work, the 7th in the series of primers exploring modern masters of literary dark short fiction. Herein is a chance to discover the evocative voice of Gemophiles, a beautifully illustrated book by Michelle Prebick. So illustrations, I did not know it was illustrated. That's really cool. I like Gemophiles quite a bit, and I've watched her speak on panels and virtual panels on YouTube, and also have read, of course, Experimental Film. Really beautiful book. So if you're new to Gemophiles, maybe pick this up. The next book, Listen to Your Sister, a novel by Nina Veal. It comes out on February 4th as well. It has this woodcut style of a black background, like many of these are, and it's got this kind of cabin in these piney woods, and it has this red to teal gradient, which I think is just beautiful. This gradient with a black background is kind of a trend I've noticed. There's quite a few books coming out with this look, so this is really nice with this kind of softened, rounded serif fonts too. It's just a really pretty cover. 25-year-old Calla is struggling since becoming guardian to her brother Jamie. Calla is overwhelmed and tired of being the one who makes the sacrifices to keep the family together. Jamie, full of good-natured 16-year-old recklessness, is usually off fighting for what matters to him or getting into mischief, or a little bit of both. Dre, their brother, has promised that he would help raise Jamie, but now that all the ink is dry on the paperwork, in typical middle child fashion, he's off doing his own thing. And through it all, the nightmare never stops haunting Calla. The nightmare is capitalized. Recurring images of her brothers dying that she is powerless to stop. So it doesn't tell us lots about what's going on in this story. It tells us about the familial relations, and it sort of hints that it's a folkish horror because of the cover. It doesn't give me a time frame necessarily, but there is ink drying on paperwork, so I'd like to think it's modern. I can't really tell, but it looks really pretty. As does this next book with this black background and a lot of red, although it is a photographic cover. This is The Lamb, a novel by Lucy Rose. It's a debut novel as well. So it's got this black background and a big red plump steak that is plated on fresh herbs like mint and thyme, maybe tarragon. Just really, really beautiful, lush looking cover. And kind of off-putting because it is a big chunk of meat, right? Margot and Mama have lived by the forest ever since Margot can remember. When Margot is not at school, they spend quiet days together in their cottage, waiting for strangers to knock on the door. People who've strayed too far from the road. Mama loves the strays. She feeds them wine, she keeps them warm. Then she satisfies her own burning appetite by picking apart their bodies. Mama's want is stronger than her hunger sometimes, and when a beautiful stray named Eden turns up in a snowstorm, Margot must confront the shifting dynamics of her family, untangle her own desires, and make a bid for freedom. So I don't know if this is a sapphic story, if this is a folk horror story entirely. It's got a very poetic description, and I just love the cover. So yeah, it's hard to tell what this is really about. Not so with the next one, Victorian Psycho, a novel by Virginia Fieto, and I have an ARC of this coming from the publisher, so I'm very excited. It'll be an e-ARC. Unfortunately, I do like having like an actual physical book to read, so I usually don't go for e-ARCs, but I have been this year trying an experiment, so I'm really looking forward to this. I love this cover too. It's got this porcelain doll face with this kind of strange kind of yellow fluted block text over top. This yellow text is like a trend, but yeah, it reminds me kind of the cover of Incident in a Ghostland, that film, if you've seen it. Although that is a person's face, not a doll face, it's got a very similar feel. So I think that this is going to be something like the yellow wallpaper and Turn of the Screw together. Winifred arrives at Ensor House prepared to play the perfect governess. She'll dutifully tutor her charges, Drusilla and Andrew, tell them bedtime stories, and only joke about eating children. But long, listless days spent within the estate's dreary confines come with an intimate knowledge of the perversions and pathetic preoccupations of the Pounds family. Mr. Pounds can't keep his eyes off Winifred's chest, and Mrs. Pounds takes a sickly pleasure in punishing Winifred for her husband's wandering gaze. Compounded with the disdain for children, what a governess, eh? Compounded with her disdain for the children, Winifred finds herself struggling at every turn to stifle the violent compulsions of her past. French tutoring and needlework are only one way to pass the time, as is admiring the ugly portraits in the gallery and creeping across moonlit lawns. So I'm looking forward to this quite a bit. Now, February 11th starts out with something completely different. Residue, Paramentals Rising by John Harrison. This cover looks like a techno thriller. It's got like skyscrapers and these ghostly red skulls kind of leering down on a city street. It's strange, but it works. It's kind of compelling. It's got this white sans serif font. It's kind of like nouveau Tom Clancy look to the cover. In the aftermath of a catastrophic New Year's Eve explosion in the heart of the city, Mickey embarks upon a treacherous odyssey into the devastated area in search of her famous photojournalist sister Jennifer, who has mysteriously disappeared. With only the help of a former homicide detective, a cagey teenage street dodger, and a set of lurid photographs that her sister left behind, Mickey will come face to face with the manifestations of malevolent psychic energy called Paramentals and the sinister conspiracy that created them. I don't know what Paramentals are. I don't know much about this plot, really, honestly, except it seems like sort of like a race against time, maybe, kind of thing. They're explaining more about the people's like relationships than they are about the plot, and this seems to be a trend in summaries. I guess everyone has been wanting for years rich character development, and this is what you're getting. Not that I have anything against rich character development, but I am a setting and plot kind of girl. So February 11th also has The House at Blacktooth Pond, and I'm very intrigued in this, by Stephen Mark Rainey. Breaking the trend from this black background with like multicolored text, it's got this ochre kind of bold stretched serif font over a creepy woodland lake, a lot of verticals, a lot of burnt umber browns, dark reds, really vertical looking and kind of haunting looking cover to this book. With its long history of countless deaths and disappearances, Aiken Mill, Virginia has become known to law enforcement as the cold case capital of the world. A mutilated body has turned up in town, and Sheriff Parrott, what a name. I wanted to say Sheriff Prescott, but Sheriff Parrott discovers frightening clues that lead him to believe some ghostly force or entity may be responsible for the killing. Meanwhile, psychology professor Martin Pritchett and his brother Philip happen upon a crumbling century-old house beside a body of water called Blacktooth Pond. A strange compulsion leads both men back to the house time and time again, but neither can remember any of the events that occur there. As both the sheriff and the Pritchett brothers attempt to solve their respective mysteries, their paths begin to converge, paths that lead inexorably back to the ancient, foreboding house at Blacktooth Pond. So it looks really neat. I'm interested in this particular book. I'll be doing a poll, and I think I'll be adding quite a few. I mean, I've already got Victorian Psycho on the way. There's a few books here that have really grabbed my attention, and more to come. The final book, it's tough. I want to buy all of these books, right? There's about 3 or 4 that stand out to me already, and this is one of them. So also on February 11th, we have The Poorly Made and Other Things by Sam Rebelin, and this sounds pretty interesting. But it's got one of those Kindlepreneur titles, and I've mentioned this previously. A Kindlepreneur title to me is one of those titles that are not the title of the book, but they use it on Amazon. And I say Kindlepreneur because that's what these people are called. Those that are like, here's like 20 hot tips to sell your Kindle book. Sell 1,000 books a day with this method. Those are Kindlepreneurs, and this has a Kindlepreneur title. So it says, creepy gothic horror with a haunting thematic atmosphere, perfect for winter 2025, don't read alone. So that's not the title of the book. It's not The Poorly Made Things and Other Things, creepy gothic horror with a haunting theme. Like, that's not the title. The title is simply The Poorly Made and Other Things. It has a really cool cover. It's got red and black with a twisted tree that has glowing eyes and is kind of peering out from a hollow in the trunk. So like a big knot in the trunk. Reminds me kind of the Bell Witch or something. But there's something wrong in Renfield County. It's in the water, the soil, the wood. But worst of all, it's in the minds of the residents, slowly driving them mad. When Lawrence Renfield massacred his family and drew the giant in his farmhouse with their blood, no one imagined the repercussions. At the very least, the bloodstained wood should have been set aflame, not chopped down and repurposed as furniture, decor, and heirlooms across the county. But that's exactly what happened. Now regular people like you or me are sitting on, eating with, admiring the cursed wood and reaping the consequences. So it reminds me of like Amityville About Time or something like that, where they sell off all the things that were in the Amityville house and like they're haunted. And I wish that there would have been like 20 other movies. Not like there aren't 20 other Amityville movies, but like things in the house. Like if you sold off a door from Amityville or those windows, they repurposed those windows and they're somewhere if they weren't smashed to bits. So yeah, The Poorly Made and Other Things. Interesting. I don't like the Kindlepreneur title, but I like the summary. And I also like this one too on February 13th. Lucky 13. Scuttler's Cove by David Barnett. It's a beautiful black cover with red Dungeness crab or something on the cover. Just really plain, really striking. It is one of those Kindlepreneur titles though. The title is not Scuttler's Cove, a chilling, unputdownable folk horror thriller. It is Scuttler's Cove. And the cover actually says a seaside idyll with horror at its heart, which is nice, but that's still not really the title. But that should be the title, right? Like, I don't know. It's this Kindlepreneur thing I can't handle, but I love this synopsis. Scuttler's Cove is a working village nestling in dramatic coastal scenery in Cornwall, where life has gone uninterrupted for centuries, until this seaside idyll was discovered by the rich. Now the quaint cottages have been snapped up by timeshare and rental companies, and the locals can barely afford to live in their own town. It's a very different place for Marin Moon, who left for university at the age of 18 and never looked back. Now in her 30s, she returns to the cove for the first time since and after the death of her mother. She soon discovers that there are forces at play in the village that she could never have imagined. Something old and terrible is awakening beneath the town's hallowed ground. And with it comes a horror that the residents have fought for generations to keep secret. I love seaside horror. I love rural horror. I like horror much like The Wicker Man, where the outside modern forces come crashing in to this older town and ruin everything or get everything ruined for them, depending on how you look at it. So yeah, very interested in Scuttler's Cove. So happy Valentine's Day. On February 14th, we have Blood on Satan's Claw or The Devil's Skin by Robert Wynne Simmons, illustrated by Richard Wells. And this is super cool. The cover is red and white. It kind of reminds me of the Malleus Maleficarum that I used to check out from the library, or my book on witchcraft and superstition that I have. It's very plain, very effective, looks very old-timey, as it should. Blood on Satan's Claw is widely regarded as the part of the unholy trinity of cult classics which gave birth to the film genre that would become known as folk horror. Along with The Wicker Man and Witchfinder General, it found new ways to terrify audiences using elements of superstition and folklore. Now 50 years after its release, readers can experience the unearthing of this terror in the film's first official novelization, which I think is so unique. 50 years after the novelization's finally written, that's cool. A compelling and frightening retelling of the fate of unfortunate villagers sacrificed by their own children as devil worship infiltrates their rural existence. Written by the film's original screenwriter Robert Wynne Simmons and featuring haunting new illustrations from Richard Wells, it is an atmospheric and defining cult classic in the making. In the making, for sure. I mean, it was a haunting and defining cult classic when it came out 50 years ago, as they said. Me and Wes covered this on the show and absolutely fell in love with this film. So if you've not seen Blood on Satan's Claw, I highly recommend watching it. It's a great watch. Or you could tune into the episode of Dead Air where we talk about it, or pick up this book. Now, if that was not lovey-dovey Valentine's Day enough for you, we have hot singles in your area by Jordan Shively. Or Shively. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. Shively, I'll say. A poison green background with a sardine tin of eyeballs. I mean, yeah, it's fittingly weird and cosmic, as the Twitter account that birthed this miscreation. If you don't know, if you have not followed Dread Singles before on Twitter, I know Twitter is so not in vogue right now, but hot singles in your area, flesh undulating in time to their feral keening, is a classic. But yeah, I highly recommend checking out Jordan's site. Super cool. But yes, Noah desperately needs a new job that involves less blood and piss than his current one as a janitor. So when he spots an ad for a newspaper seeking an ad rep with no experience preferred, he puts on his good shirt and marches down to their average-looking office to unknowingly sign his life away. Malakia is the only human left in the City of Silence, and she spends her time wandering its empty, bone-filled streets. Until one day she finds a lone figure hunched over a typewriter, his fingers enmeshed with the keys. Could he be the answer to finding her lost love? Propelled by their pursuits for rent money and truth, Noah and Malakia are pushed to their limits in this tightly plotted satire of occupational hazard and conglomerate powers. So yeah, I am very interested in this particular book because I don't know, when someone had been retweeting Dread Singles regularly and I started following it, and I really absolutely love those sort of like anti-Twitter accounts like that, right? And this is the best example. If you want something a little more straightforward, on February 18th we have Hunger Stone by Kat Dunn. It's a lovely cover evoking the nightmare, the Renaissance oil painting, or whatever time frame it took place in that particular oil painting, but without the gremlin on the chest. So it is a maiden prone on a bed. It has block green calligraphy text on the top, just a really gorgeous looking kind of book. It's the height of the Industrial Revolution, 10 years until Lenore's marriage to Steel Baron Henry, and their relationship has soured. When Henry's ambitions take them from London to the remote British moorlands to host a hunting party of all things, a shocking carriage accident brings the mysterious Carmilla into their lives. Carmilla, weak and pale during the day, but vibrant at night. Carmilla, who stirs up something deep within Lenore. Before long, girls from the local village fall sick, consumed with terrible hunger. Does this sound familiar, like any other Carmilla we know? As the day of the hunt draws closer, Lenore begins to unravel, questioning the role she has been playing all these years. Torn between regaining her husband's affection and the cravings that Carmilla has awakened, soon Lenore will uncover a darkness in the household that will place her at terrible risk. It's interesting that Hungerstone and this reproduction of Carmilla are coming out in the same month. I love it. Now, The Vengeful Dead by Darcy Coates has a cover evocative of the others in this series. I've not read any of this series. The cover is like a lithograph style graveyard scene. It's black with a gradient of orange to red. So this black and gradient look. Tall sans serif white text. This distressed white sans serif text is also a bit of a trend. But yeah, it's a really eye-catching cover. I've not read any of them. If you've read this series, I just like seeing Darcy Coates in print, so let me know if it's any good. Kara is caught in a deadly battle, and her ability to help ghosts move on from the mortal world has made her a threat to Artak, a powerful corporation that is intent on trapping the tortured dead for profit. They've been tracking her for years, and now finally there's nowhere left for her to run. Artak fears Kira and everything that she's capable of. They will stop at nothing to eliminate her, including sending armed men after everyone she holds dear. I haven't followed the series, so I don't know if this is the end of it. Not really clear, but I think it's really cool. Another one I don't know much about, February 21st, The Pink Agave Motel and Other Stories by V. Castro, because I've not read any V. Castro before. So if you have, let me know if this is worth checking out. It's got this kind of boring cover of like a door hanger on a motel room door, and it's got this like kind of very fitting rolling serif typography kind of the 30s or 40s. These short stories evoke an alluring voice, sure to make the reader shiver in arousal and horror, never quite knowing what could happen next. Castro pushes past the limits of gothic terror and fantasy to carve a dangerous path of lust and vengeance, all throughout the reader's charming stay at the Pink Agave Motel. So I assume that every single story takes place in this motel, which is kind of cool. February 25th has A Night in the Lonesome October by Roger Zelazny, and it's interesting because this title could be confused with a couple other books. The cover has a howling wolf illustrated in green ink on a black background, like so many other books before it. Yellow, chunky serif text. It's a strange choice for this title. George R.R. Martin has blurbed it. You'd think someone would have, I don't know, I guess it ties in. So yeah, there's that. But it has all of these elements from previous books we've talked about this month. All of these trends in covers kind of appear in this one. Under cover of the murky London gloom, a knife-wielding gentleman named Jack prowls the midnight streets with his faithful watchdog Snuff, gathering together the grisly ingredients that they will need for an upcoming ancient and unearthly rite. For soon after the death of the moon, black magic will summon the elder gods back into the world. All manner of participants, both human and not, are about with their ancient tools and their animal familiars in preparation for the dread night. The witch, the mad monk, the vengeful vicar, the count who sleeps by day, the good doctor, and the hulking experiment man that he fashioned from human body parts, and a wild card American named Larry Talbot. All the while, Snuff is keeping things at bay and straining to leap ahead of the great detective who knows quite a bit more than he lets on. So it's a cobblestone and gas lamp mishmash. So it's like, what is that? Penny Dreadful? It's a lot like Penny Dreadful Redux. So, I don't know, it sounds interesting, but I'm not a big fan of that sort of era as a monster mash. Another book that really caught my eye is Something in the Walls, a novel by Daisy Pierce. It comes out February 25th as well. It's this beautiful cover, kind of evocative of the yellow wallpaper. And it's wallpaper that's torn over a slat and plaster wall. So you see the hole into the slats. So it's really plain, a very plain cover. The font is this distressed black sans serif, just really plain, but for whatever reason it catches my eye. Newly minted child psychologist Mina has little experience. In a field where the people who are first called are experts, she's been unable to get her feet wet. The only reprieve from her small world is attending the local bereavement group to mourn her brother's death years ago. Alice is a 13-year-old girl who claims she's being haunted by a witch, living with her family in their crowded home in a remote village. Alice's symptoms are increasingly disturbing, and money is tight. Taking this job will give Mina some experience, and Alice will get better. Mina is sure of it. But instead of improving, Alice's condition becomes increasingly inexplicable and intense. The town has a deep history of superstition and witchcraft. They believe that there is evil in this world. They believe that there are ways of dealing with it. And they don't expect outsiders to understand. So another rural idol kind of story, but with a more overt, maybe attack from the modern world. I don't know. Very interesting. I love the cover of this. It is so evocative. And rounding out the month, a book that has caught my eye that is definitely going to be on the poll, View Count Rising by Sullivan Ledger. Rick is a young, struggling filmmaker with big dreams but no direction. By day, he's trapped in a soul-crushing job he despises. By night, he pours his heart into low-budget short films, hoping to break into Hollywood. When he meets Sergio, a charismatic yet enigmatic producer, Rick is convinced that he's finally found his big break. Behind the allure of success lies a twisted underworld of snuff films, gruesome underground creations blurring the line between art and depravity. As Rick becomes entrenched in Sergio's world, but the deeper he dives, the more he loses. He loses friendships, love, and the last fragments of his humanity. What starts as a desperate attempt to make a name for himself spirals into a waking nightmare of violence and betrayal. Rick never imagined his pursuit of success would lead him here. Now the horrors he's complicit in mount, and he's left to question whether he can escape or even if he wants to. So, if you enjoyed Serbian film, this would be a book for you, I feel. There was a snuff film type book on the poll before, so I'm going to keep trying to get some snuff film books on the list. The cover is this like camera on the ground. It looks bloody. It looks very red, very black, very interesting. So I am very interested in that. Is there anything on this list that you've already read? I know a lot of us here get advanced reader copies, or is there anything on the list that you are now going to add to your reading pile? Let me know in the comments below, or if there's anything that you think I missed that's very exciting coming out in February. Thank you so much for watching, and have an ookie spooky day.